Video games are fun, don't you agree? But what's better than a video game? How about a game within a game? This list will focus on games that you find in games, and not mini-games that are a part of a game. So no triple triad, Gwent or Chocobo racing. Here's the top 10 games within games. Within the universe of the No More Heroes series, there is an anime franchise called Pure White Lover Bizarre Jelly. What does that mean? Who knows, but it's a magical girl mecha series starring schoolgirls. No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle gives the anime a sequel called Bizarre Jelly 5, and includes a minigame based on it. Inspired by the gameplay of Toho, Bizarre Jelly 5 is a vertical scrolling shooter minigame that you can play by accessing the TV. The whole thing is a bit of a parody of anime and anime games, but Bizarre Jelly 5 does have its fans, and Suda51 once said Bizarre Jelly could have been adapted into an actual anime if fans wanted it enough. In Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Gruntilda's old minion Klungo has moved on from villainy to pursue a career in video games. At Klungo's arcade in Showdown Town, you can try out what he assures you is the best game ever made. Hero Klungo Saves the World. It's a side-scrolling retro platformer where Klungo runs and you have to jump over obstacles and enemies to make it to the end of each level. Unfortunately, Klungo hasn't fully tested the game yet, so it occasionally crashes. At the end, it promises that the sequel, Hero Klungo Saves the Universe, featuring Klungo, will be released soon. Fans enjoy the minigame enough that this sequel was actually added as part of the LOG's Lost Challenges DLC. If you return to the Mushroom Kingdom Inn after the Merrymore segment of Super Mario RPG, you can buy a Game Boy from a Toad for 500 coins. Once you buy it, you can play Beetle Mania, a minigame with gameplay similar to Space Invaders, and named for the pop culture phenomenon surrounding the rock band The Beatles, oddly enough. In Beetle Mania, you control a beetle trying to shoot down the red shells that fill the screen. Whenever you shoot one, it explodes into stars, and the stars also destroy any shells they touch. The stars will also hurt you, so watch out. There are no prizes for Beetle Mania, although you can try beat your own high score. Interestingly, the background changes depending on who is your middle party member at the moment. Have you always thought that the protagonist of Bully is the sort of person who would play arcade games in his free time? Once you finish the "This is your school" mission at the start of the game, you'll be able to play a racing game called Future Street Racer. In fact, you'll be able to play two different kinds. Future Street Racer 2165 has a top-down viewpoint and can be played in the boys' dorms and the townie hideout. Future Street Racer 3D has a third-person viewpoint and can be played in the beach house. Both are also at the carnival. These are futuristic racing games in a style similar to Wipeout, in which you race hover cars and can fire missiles at your opponents. There are no rewards for winning, and playing Future Street Racer isn't required for 100% completion. Nevertheless, if you like racing, it's a nice little minigame to pass some time with. So far, we've looked at games created solely to be minigames, but what about games that actually have pre-existing games within them? Space Harrier was designed by Yu Suzuki and released by Sega in 1985. It was a third-person rail shooter in which you fought your way through colourful stages while fighting a wide variety of enemies and dodging obstacles. So, when Yu Suzuki made Shenmue, he included Space Harrier as a playable minigame. Both Shenmue and Shenmue 2 have an arcade where you can play Space Harrier. In the first game, it is also possible to win a copy of Space Harrier that Ryo can play on his Sega Saturn. Now that's a nice little nod to the company's early video game history. So, you want to play the old text-based adventure game Zork from 1979, but you want to play it within another game. You can do that. All you need to do is start up Call of Duty Black Ops. At the start of Black Ops, you can break free of the chair and explore the room. If you examine the computer terminal, entering the command Zork, or Hello Sailor, will allow you to play Zork. All you have to do is type in the commands for what you want to do and proceed through the game as you would normally. The entire game is playable. While this seems a bit odd at first, Activision acquired Zork's developer and the rights to the game in 1986. Apparently they thought it would be a nice little secret to include the entire text-based adventure game within Black Ops. Did you know there was a way to legitimately play NES games on the GameCube, long before the Virtual Console ever started up? You could play Balloon Fight, Clu Clu Land, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, Excitebike, Golf, Pinball, Tennis, Wario's Woods, and Baseball. And there were even more games made available through Nintendo giveaways and other special events. All you had to do was have a copy of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing for the Nintendo GameCube, as well as the earlier games in the series not released outside of Japan, allowed you to obtain and play these NES games within the game itself. Unfortunately, the rise of the Virtual Console meant there was now a way for Nintendo to sell its old games instead of just including them as fun secrets. We'll probably never see the old games within the Animal Crossing series again, although the Welcome Amiibo update for the Animal Crossing New Leaf added 2 all-new games as mini-games for players to enjoy. One for the in-game 3DS, and another for the in-game Wii U. Ninja Gaiden and its 2 sequels, all released for the NES, were highly praised for their challenging action platformer gameplay and the way they presented their stories through cinematic cutscenes. These 3 games were later collected as the Ninja Gaiden Trilogy for the SNES, although this version was criticized for low audio quality. But as long as you don't mind that, you can play all 3 games within another game. 2004's Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox allows you to unlock the SNES versions of all 3 games in the Ninja Gaiden Trilogy and play them from the menu, after you meet certain criteria. Unfortunately, while the Xbox's Ninja Gaiden is playable on the Xbox 360, the unlockable SNES games have trouble with backward compatibility and can't be played. On the other hand, the enhanced version of Ninja Gaiden Black includes an unlockable arcade version of Ninja Gaiden instead of the trilogy, and can be played on the Xbox 360. Sorry, PlayStation fans, the PS3 port Ninja Gaiden Sigma doesn't include unlockable games. In 1987, Lucasfilm Games released an adventure game called Maniac Mansion. It was a humorous point-and-click game about a boy trying to save his girlfriend from a mad scientist. The game was a huge success and helped make the developer stand out as a serious contender in the adventure game genre. In 1993, they went on to create a sequel, Day of the Tentacle. At one point in Day of the Tentacle, you can find a computer, and use it to play Maniac Mansion. All of Maniac Mansion. Yes, you can play the entire game within its sequel. This might be the first example of a full game being included with another game, and it was a fantastic bonus. With the way things are today, you'd expect any future releases of Day of the Tentacle to avoid this, just like Animal Crossing no longer includes NES games, right? Wrong. When Double Fine remastered Day of the Tentacle in March 2016, they left the secret intact. You can play Maniac Mansion within Day of the Tentacle Remastered. The only cooler thing would be if it was also remastered, but it's pretty awesome nevertheless. A quick honourable mention before number 1, in an unusual twist on the usual method, Square Enix created a minigame for Final Fantasy XV and then released that minigame as a standalone mobile app before Final Fantasy XV was out. Justice Monsters 5 is a free pinball game with RPG elements that you can play either on a mobile device or within Final Fantasy XV itself. How do you beat including full games within games? What about when the minigame ends up being more popular than the game itself? Not just in a joking way among certain groups of fans. When Bizarre Creations developed the Xbox racing game Project Gotham Racing, they created an app to help practice using the Xbox's analog sticks. This app grew into a twin-stick shooter called Geometry Wars, where you controlled a spaceship and fought wave after wave of enemies. When they moved on to develop Project Gotham Racing 2, they included Geometry Wars as a minigame on an in-game arcade machine. Players loved it far more than Bizarre Creations ever expected. Before long, they expanded it into a standalone game called Geometry Wars Retro Evolved for the Xbox 360. It was also so popular, it created a series. Even though Bizarre Creations was later acquired by Activision and eventually shut down, Geometry Wars still exists. With the release of Geometry Wars 3 in 2014, the series contains 3 numbered titles and 2 spin-offs. Geometry Wars started as a Project Gotham Racing 2 minigame, and now it's a series more popular than Project Gotham Racing. For that reason, we consider Geometry Wars to be the #1 game within a game. I hope you enjoyed this week's list, and if you did, leave a like. And if you want to see more lists in the future, subscribe. And if you want to see more lists now, click here for the 10 creepy folklore from around the world, or here for the top 10 best end credits minigames.